47K, the 1st of September 2022. You're welcome back. We're on 404. I got 2 new subscribers. You're very welcome. This is electricity and gas price hikes. In my video 47J, I inadvertently made a little mistake, but I don't want to delete it because it's a good video. We traditionally had 6,500 megawatts of hot plant, fossil fuel plant. We added 2,000 megawatts of fast-acting gas plant to balance all this wind. We added 4,000 megawatts of wind energy, and we tried to add 200 megawatts of either diesel or fast gas plant about Ringsend in Dublin, down around the power plant there in Ringsend or down there somewhere. So this is 200. In my earlier presentation, 47J, I said 2,000. It's 200 they wanted. They can't get them because they're not available. Everyone's flat out making alternative electricity generating equipment. So that's 12,700. And they want to add a notional figure from me of 3,000 more wind, more solar and more everything, which would bring it to 15,700 megawatts when we only need 6.5 or maybe 7, a little bit extra. So you can see why all these have to try and make some money, and that's some job. Now remember, electricity is going up 26.7%, whereas gas is going up 37.5. And as I said, I think the reason is there's not all electricity is generated from gas, and so they can put up the price a little less than the gas itself, which you would be using for heating your homes or cooking. Now there's a restaurant in Athlone called Poppy Fields, and this lady that owns it got a bill for 9,800 euros. 9,800 euros. And of course, there was a lot of publicity, but no one ever thought of asking her, how much electricity did you use? How many units did you use? Surely that's a relevant point. It shows you the ignorance of the media. Okay, how many units did she use? Is it an error? If it's an error, it'll be regulated, but if it's not, she'll have to pay. Now, interestingly, when she was asked her opinion, I think it was Joe Duffy, the presenter on Channel Side Northern Sound. Oh, she said, I'm all for wind energy. Oh, a great job. Oh, I'm for it. Now she has to pay for it. And even though she's paying for it through the teeth, she still believes in it. And this is the problem. These people continually vote for politicians who install all this nonsense and make me pay for it. I believe the right way to deal with this green stuff is let people elect whether they want to be green or not. And if they're green, let them pay the 9,000 for their bill. And if they're not green like me, let them pay the ordinary amount. That would seem to make a lot of sense. But you get this, and if we're alive next April, we'll probably have seen a lot of people dying, a lot of old people and kids and that having died throughout Europe and in Ireland, and that some of these on their deathbed will say they think wind energy is a great idea. This is the belligerent opinion of Irish and other people, it has to be said. Now, many restaurants are closing in England. A lot of them are closing, and I can see a lot of pubs closing in Ireland. How are they going to afford the heating bill? I'd say they'd be closed. I'd say you'd only have them a wee while in the afternoon. So taking COVID and taking this, I think we're going to see such radical changes. Our country won't be recognisable. Now there's the CEO. He's Mr. Moffat of Moffat Engineering. That's the place that makes the combi lifts. It's not the place that supplies the steel that I talk about. He was on the radio and he made the point he can't do without electricity. He has to have electricity. And he's talking about getting generators. Now, even if he can afford it, now don't forget, this company manufactures for all of the world. It manufactures for the whole world. I don't know, has he firms abroad, but he exports a huge amount of what is one of the most excellent products. It's a forklift that goes behind a truck. And so he is now concerned about the situation. And I would recommend, there is no guarantee that his electricity supply is safe. He'd be using a lot of three-phase power. He said on the radio that he needs electricity for various things, lots and lots of things. Nearly everything is electricity. And he said that he's worried and he's going to get in generators. And that, to my notion, is very wise, because if he gets diesel generators, they'll run on diesel. And he can always stack up on diesel. If there's no tractor diesel, well, then there'll be a terrible situation in the country. Animals will die. How are you going to feed animals without tractor diesel? So diesel is likely to be available, even though gas is not. Whereas electricity mains relies a lot on gas and coal, you can always generate your own, and you can generate it in a small way, as he's suggesting. I have 2 generators, as I said myself. So this will be what's going to catch on there. They're going to bypass the grid altogether. They're going to forget about it and say, look, it's a waste of time. Get out of here. Let's have some alternative. Now, to go back to the pricing, there's a lot of ignorance on many websites there and many YouTube things. Wind refit price is 7.6 cents per unit. That's your ordinary domestic unit. I'm putting it simple in domestic units. The fossil fuel price up to about a year ago was 5.7. Have you that? So this is a guaranteed price of 7.6, and they were getting this while the fossil fuel price was 5.7. So they got this little extra. I think there it's 19 cent extra, is it? Yeah, I think that's it, to incentivize them. But here's the rub. The Directive for Renewable Energy is 209/28 EC, and we have the Ireland Renewable Energy Action Plan. So fossil fuel is now on EirGrid's site today 30 cent per unit, per domestic unit. 30 cent per domestic unit. In 2014, I was paying 14.6 per domestic unit. I was paying 26.4 up to quite recently, and it's now 30 cent per domestic unit. But wind has to get the exact same, and this is what many people cannot get their heads around. Wind has to get the same as fossil fuel. So if this €30 price per unit went up to 7 million, which is ridiculous, wind would have to get 7 million. Went up to 60, wind would have to get 60, and if it went up to 100, wind would have to get 100. The price of wind energy is directly linked to the price of fossil fuel electricity. And that, folks, is bananas. That was some mess. Now, there's a meeting of EU people on the 9th of September 2022. It's easy to make a mistake with the 200. There's a meeting coming up next week where they're trying to do something about this. They seem now to have realised that while if they only had to pay the fuel, they could keep on windy days baseload plant 40% of the grid baseload with fuel, and then let in the wind if there was a lot of wind and benefit somewhat from it. But when that happens, they have to pay the same for the wind. So if, for example, a supplier has stored gas, he might as well use the stored gas because he'd probably have it a wee bit cheaper than he could buy wind energy for all the good it is, but that's the fact. So they seem to be copping onto this, and they're having a meeting on the 9th of September. I think bottled gas will become very prevalent. I understand bottled gas is made from oil and all that sort of stuff, production and tar and all that, and it's not directly linked to the gas that comes out of the ground. So that will be something. Solid fuel like timber, coal is going. My local supplier says coal is now 38 cent. Sorry, I keep making these mistakes. 38 euros per 40 kilo bag. Coal is now 38 euros per 40 kilo bag, and this time last year it was about 17 euros in the south. It's a bit cheaper in the north. So 38 euros per 40 kilo bag. That would break people. The electricity generators are going to be scrambling for it as well, so it will be very scarce. Will it come down a bit? Will there be subsidies? Well, I don't know. So we can see that the bottled gas at the moment is not bad value, but it's not very suitable for heating. So it'll cook the dinner, let you out. I cooked my dinner on today at the farm. So we can see the mess we're in. Putin burnt off billions of euros of gas. Oh, sorry, 10 million the other day. He burnt it off. And the reason I'd say that is that as the gas comes out of the ground, once you start tapping your gas, it keeps coming. And you cannot just turn it off and wait till you let it go again. It'll keep going. It cannot, if you switch off the supply, it backs on up, and eventually you'll have problems where it's coming out of the ground. The pressure of letting it through the pipe and it's blocked might be greater than the pressure of getting out through the ground. This is only my guess. But he burnt off 10 million euros just on Europe's doorstep at a time when it's extremely scarce. And they've closed up the Nord Stream 1 pipeline for 3 days, supposedly for maintenance. And Europe is in a bit of a tizzy over that. Now, they are getting alternative supplies, but it's still going to be very expensive. And don't forget, these alternative supplies are coming from other people somewhere else. Maybe Qatar were supplying maybe somewhere else, and now they have to give it to Europe. So it's no matter what happens, the money is not going to be worth anything to buy it. The people who have this fuel will want good value. They'll want to get something for their product, and we can't in Europe do without it at all. So with that situation, folks, I hope I've explained that to you again. I went to a lot of trouble. This is how the lie was told, and they're still trying to preserve the lie. You must have about 40% of the grid fossil fuel before you let in any renewable energy whatsoever. If you have no fossil fuel, you cannot let in any renewable energy. And if the wind isn't blowing and the sun's not shining, you have no fossil fuel in any event. And the smart meters were muted before this crisis, but they're now pushing them again. So it really looks to me like those who can get out away from this crazy system of gas supply, if you can buy gas, bulk or in a cylinder or whatever, if you can use coal for heating, if it comes down a bit, or get it or source it, very good. I don't think diesel oil and petrol will go that dear, because if diesel were to go up by treble or double the price, I mean, you'd be talking about €6 a litre. Well, that will have serious implications. I don't think they need to any, because they have supplies in from Holland, from what do you call it, Norway and places like that. I think they'll be able to keep the diesel at a moderate price. And I think those that want to run diesel engines for their power will be in a way to do it. And for small users, a little petrol generator is very, very quiet and a great job, an easy starter. So I think that's the way it's going to pan out as people discover this. There seems to be no relief. It doesn't matter much how the war goes, in my opinion. It seems that this is the situation they have. Folks, I hope I've explained it to you. I've given a kind of a way out for this. Will they be able to struggle on over the winter in Ireland? No gas storage. Minister Ryan was on yesterday. He wants to fast track gas storage facilities now in 2022. Says he was totally against fossil fuel. He thought he could rail against it, pass laws in Dublin to stop exploration, to stop the Irish government investing in oil production anywhere. That's what he did, and coal production and gas production. Stop all this fossil fuel. And now, when we're facing exactly that, he's out trying to get more. I hope you can see how hypocritical and how false this whole thing is. I hope we get through it. I think there's an old saying, fail to prepare and you prepare to fail. Do prepare. Try and get ways of getting a few sticks, things like that. If you can cut a bit of turf, it's a bit late now. Try and find ways to get out of this and survive at least one winter. And there are a lot of commentators, folks, a lot of commentators who make the point this is going to go on for ages. I said the Ukraine war could go on several years. It doesn't really matter. The fuel crisis is not going to go away, in my opinion, anything short of 2 years. I don't think the way you have all the COVID panic, I know nobody remembers it hardly, I don't think that's going to happen with fuel, because there's a whole new demands coming on. People that normally weren't using it have now started using it, and I think you're going to see this fuel crisis continuing into the very long term. It's going to alter a lot. It's going to alter an awful lot of things in Europe and in the world. But Europe is the shakiest. Europe is the weakest because they're used to all these goodies. They're used to all this manufacturing. And if they lose their manufacturing, they have nothing at all. They have nothing. So their euro value is down, way down below the dollar now, a good bit. And I have been saying for years that there could be a financial collapse. The whole economy of Europe is looking very, 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 very shaky at the moment. It's looking very shaky. Inflation was in the paper yesterday at 9.1%. Imagine that, just printing money to try and get out of this instead of using a wee bit of common sense and emergency planning. We'll just see how they get on. So with that, folks, I'd ask you to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you think I'm wrong, and comment underneath and keep the comments relatively logical, and I'll try and deal with each one. Thank you very much.